Okay. This is a fairly fundamental project here, but you have to be careful you don't make the holes too big on the bottom, and you don't make the lid too big. This one, mason jars, you can put these lids on anything. I mean, you want a Skippy peanut butter jar, you want the little yogurt jars that now come with the glass, and they're really cute little jars. You could make those and sell those things for $5 a shot if you want on those. But this one is mason jar, and I made an oak lid for this morning on there. And the fundamentals basically is to hollow this out. We're going to put a tenon on it, and then we're going to hollow out this side, and then we'll flip it over and put it in the chuck. And the chuck will expand on this side and hold it while we turn that side of it. But what I found is, if I this was originally beaded, or another one, and it was beaded, and it got so big looking, it just dominated the top of the jar. And so I said, well, I'd rather keep it fairly simple. And this one is maple. I did pick out a piece of scrap maple with a nice highlight on one side of it to accent that a little bit on there. But the top is fairly simple, easy to grab or unscrew, those type of things you're looking for. To put a small knob on here, it's not really going to be used much. You can see where you're going to do it that way here. You might not get the lid off a mason jar very well. You're really going to grab up here with something. So think about those things as it goes. Try not to make it too huge on the top. Roberta was asking about a finial. Yeah, I'm going to open this jar. I don't want to have to work around the finial to do it. I want the jar open. I want my cookies. I want my candy. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time pulling this thing apart. Now this one has two parts, and it has the sealed lid in it. So that's an option you could have. Or you could just put it in. You could just use it with the ring and put the wood in over the top of that. And have the wood, you just splay the wood on the inside. So it's a matter of how well you want to seal that jar. I get it back out of there now. On there. Essentially, you're going to glue the ring, the seal into there. You're going to put a little glue on the ring here, and you don't need a whole lot because you're not going to use that as a twist it. And then you're going to get that, and then you're going to put this in, put your glue on here. You're going to use Goop E6000. One of those two will help it tremendously. They grip very well. They're rubbery, so you're not going to drop it and have a problem with it coming apart from that part. It might crack the wood, but other than that. So I'll pass around these two lids on that. The woods themselves, if you get a very hard wood, first of all, you want to make sure they're bone dry. You put a wet wood on here, it's going to crack. It's going to bind the threads on this fairly thin mason jar lid, and now you can't unscrew it. So you got to be careful of that. Either make it loose enough that you not off center, but it does stay in there. So you take a look at both those. And I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the inside. You could sand it out if you're fastidious. Fastidious? It's a new word, I think.
I'm sure we'll find a dictionary.
Okay, I took the liberty of I put it between centers, and I just jam chucked the piece of wood against the chuck, open jaw chuck, brought up my tailstock, and guessed at about where the center was, and turned that. Make sure you have enough wood depth-wise, and you have enough wood width-wise that you're going to be able to make this lid without going through the sides of it. And that's basically, this walnut came from back here. It's air dried, it's bone dry. It should work fine for us on that. The tools, there's not a whole lot of, I mean, you could use, doesn't have to be fancy. You really don't even have to use I'll get back up here. You don't have to use a bowl gouge. You can use a badan. You can use a scraper. You just want to get the inside out of here. And this is a badan here. And anyway, if you don't know what it is, it's just like a large parting tool on there. Your 1/2-inch bowl gouge will help you get rid of wood quicker. This is a 1/2-inch spindle gouge where you can take wood down. And then the 3/8-inch spindle gouge to do a little bit of fine work if we want to do that with it. This one here is what I use on all my hollow, I would say, end grain boxes, things like that. And you'll see me putting it in the side and pulling wood out with a pull cut. This is a spindle gouge, 1/2-inch D-way spindle gouge. It's in a crown, but that's just a handle. I've gone through numerous ones of these. But I'll just use it, and I can also turn it the other way and take the bottom and level that out too on that one. So you'll notice the wings are turned back quite a ways. That'll help me with just peeling out the skin. Well, I learned to do that up in St. Paul when I was a videographer for a well-known English gentleman who could turn a box very quickly. And that's one of the tools he uses there on that one. Okay. I have marked out with my dividers. And if you're going to use dividers, I measured the lid. I'm a little bit smaller than the circumference I really need, but I need to put the point on one side, and I can find that on there. And then not touch the other side. If you touch the other side, it's going to flip over and you're going to have a big surprise. If you don't stick it in your hand, you'll be happy. But just hold that one off a 1/4 inch or so, and then you're going to guess. You might not get it the first time. Move it in or out, and you'll be able to run. And there's probably 2 or 3 lines in here. Just getting that down. This is a Groz, G-R-O-Z, Woodcraft. I know it sells them. I think Rockler does also. These are good. Amazon probably sells these. These are pretty sturdy, better than some of the cheaper models. You get what you pay for, and I think these are $20 some a pop. You can buy a set of them with the curved, and then inside measurement, outside measure, all 3 of them at once. But I like those. Those are a good tool, and I have probably 3 of those at home. All right, the first thing we got to do is to establish somewhere around that rim. I'm going to cut inside that line I have, and what we're going to do is put a pencil line on here for it.
Don't go down.
Good point.
Go up.
He's getting the mark.
The red pencil's a little softer. You see that one now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I need it again.
I got
Okay.
I got one here.
I'm going to my 3/8 inch. And when I start piercing this, if I hold this tool like that with the handle down, it's going to jump back on me. If I hold it up too high, it's going to jump back on me. If I hold it too close to my body, it's going to jump back on me. You get the picture. All I want to do is get the point into the wood here. And we're running 400 and something. Might be faster than that. It's going to be a straight cut. And I'm going a little bit inside that line. And all I do is scraping it right now. I just want a ledge. And I produced a little ledge right there. Let's see what happens if I hold it wrong. It wants to move around a lot. Hold it too. Look at that one. Oh man, it just tears back in there real quick. So I'm going to work my way this way. And notice I have it at about 3 o'clock Now I'm going to turn that flute up and push into the wood. Much quicker getting the wood out than it would be to turn it at 3 o'clock and try to work it that way. That's more of a finished cut. And as I get toward the center, it's going slower and slower. So I'm going to turn it over, put the wing into the wood, and push directly toward the headstock with my left hand. Boom, pretty quick. There's another one. My tool rest is a little bit high. Drop that down. Still too high. I want to be able to put it on its side and be with the handle right at my side, so I can just take out that center like that. When I'm pulling out part of the center, I'm going to come back and I work a little closer to that rim. There's my leg. Turn it. Turn it up to about 1 o'clock. That's too thick. I can go a little bit farther this way now. I just push into the wood that direction. All I want to do is waste wood. Now I can do that with this one, I can do it with a larger one, and I can do it with a 1/2-inch bowl gouge. It'll be basically the same thing. What I have to do is get it down low enough that I can put a lid in there deep enough. And make sure you use a piece of wood that's got a little extra depth to it. Now I bring out this spindle gouge that has a steep bevel on it and an edge. And now I can just pull into the wood. And you could do that with a scraper where there's a right angle corner in it. And here we go the other way. Very handy tool. Here I have to turn the flute up a little bit. Still cutting on the left-hand side. You don't want to quit on the, cut a little past the point. Otherwise it'll tear it up again. And take a look here. I'm not quite to the red line with that. We'll take a little more out with this one. And then I'm going to show you another tool. It goes out of the way so you can see. Getting pretty close to the red line on that. This tool is nothing but a piece of high-speed steel, 3/8. I think it's 3/8. I got this from Craft Supply, and I gotta give credit to Dick Zing. This is what he uses on all his lids. And this one's been used quite a bit. You can see it's fairly narrow in the point, or they have leading edge of it. But I think you buy 12 inches of this for $20 maybe, somewhere in there. You might see Bill Atchison. I'm sure he got something like this. Good job, Bill. All right, this tool is sharpened directly on the tip is 90 degrees, and then it is taken away on the heel on the back side, on the left-hand side of the tool, where I can use it on the wall and straight. I can push it into the wood and pull it out of the wood, push it in. So it's cutting with the left-hand tip for that. And I'm going to need my lid. Now we're gonna take a look at the
Thank you.
lid there, and that's, you know, a good start. You'll notice, I think this lid's a little bent in the manufacturing, but you'll see how it's in there part way, but it wobbles at that point. If I put it in there, it does the same thing going the other way. So it needs to be a little bit bigger, but a lot of it comes from just, this is not as thick as grandma's used to have. Modern businesses, I guess. So I'm just going to take it out and loosen it up a little bit. And you'll notice this tool does a great job of just making very fine cuts. We're not too worried about the bottom yet. We're getting down there. It needs to be, the lid, the opening part, the top of the opening looks pretty good, but we need something to make it a little more even. It's a little smaller on the bottom area. So I'm gonna bring it up here, and I'll just drive straight in. Does that help us? That's pretty close. We just gotta go deeper. And now we're gonna bring up another point. You'll notice you have a rim on here. You can leave the rim exposed, kind of like that, where you can actually see the rim from there, or you can cut out a little bit of a ledge here and hide that lid into the wood. So let's see if we can do that. And I gotta get a little more wood out of here too. So I'm going back to my 1/2-inch spindle gouge with ground back wings and a steep. Again, this is the 3 o'clock. I'm turning it up to 1:30, and I just slow down as I go into the center. That way these make wonderful gifts. Especially Christmas time, you put a little ribbon around them, and you can get fancy jars you want. Doesn't have to be an old mason jar, but they seem to sell for beer too. Put a handle on them. You buy them that way. Just taking that center down. If you have a South Suburban Chiselers, Ileana Woodturners business card,
Yes?
you put it in there and you can see whether the bottom is flat. But I forgot to bring mine. The center is definitely higher than the other, so we'll take a little more out of there. Don't push through the center, just very lightly. You notice a little nub right there. Just taking some of that out. And the lid's gonna be, inside's gonna be covered, so not a big problem. Yeah. It's fairly flat. It's a little bit high in the center. Let's see how the lid's doing. Yeah, we gotta go down a little bit more, it looks like. Get a little more out of there too, that's why. The lid is, it's deep enough, it's just, gotta make that corner better. Yeah, a little bit more. This is the fitting part. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. Going back to my 1/2 inch. Tools get a little dull. So we'll just go with a 1/2 inch oil grinder. These two tools have very similar noses on them up front, so it cuts fairly well going across the bottom. And we got that corner a little bit there. We got a parting tool we could use here too. So you see where the parting tool does not have, it can't go on an arc or on a circle. You can't get it right in the corner. It's good on the bottom, but you're rubbing on 2 corners in there. You punch it in there, but you probably wouldn't get it back. So we're gonna take this one. I'm relieving a little extra on the side at the bottom down there, at the deepest point, that I can get it in without too much problem. We're pretty close. And we got the lid deep enough that it probably won't do anything anyway. So we're gonna call that low enough. Now all I gotta do is get it out. Dig in my pockets, take it out my trusty dusty $2 Menards knife. You can buy mason jar lids that are solid also, but then you still gotta leave a little space in there. You don't want the lid being in the way too much. Okay, so we're good. I'm gonna call that. You could, I'm gonna clean this lid up a little bit down the lip. Just a shear cut. Little bumpy. Try not to take too much off. I'll be recutting it. Might have to. Okay, let's flip it around and somewhere. All this has been done on a number 2 jaw. And we want to know how much wood is left in the bottom. So we get that nice pink, hot pink depth gauge here. Purposely colored, we don't lose it in the shavings. Yeah, so we're at 11/16? No, 7/16, excuse me. 7/16 with the tenon. And you could make this using the tenon if you have to, or you can take the tenon off. It's just a matter of doing them that way. So now we put this on here. Got a ways to go. Doesn't take a whole lot. Do not crank this too hard. You'll hear something go pop, like that on there. Let's take, before we do that, let's take a look at how much wood we really have on the sides here too. That's gotta be 3/8 of an inch almost there. That's 5/16, almost just under 3/8 of an inch. So we got plenty of there. And up here we're just about the same as the top anyway.
Whoa.
You grab that big guy. I want to make sure I have it flat against there, and that's enough. Doesn't take much. You got pretty good friction here to hold that lid. Okay, we talked about making them simple, and that's basically what we're going to do here. If you have some really nice fiddle walnut or maple, you don't need much. The oak that I passed around, I played with my texturing tool, Sorby, and you can see oak does not work well. It just tears up too much. And look at my gouge, and we're going to start this out with a 1/2 inch pole gouge with a pull cut. And I'm still a little high. You want to be comfortable at center. You don't want to have to hold it up or hold it down. I want to be comfortable there. Now I have it there, over to 9 o'clock, and I'm going to raise it up a little bit and take that off. You can see I'm pulling on it fairly hard, and it's still well done there. We got a little flat spot here, so we're going to take that out when we start turning the side. Now we're going to taper down, and you could put a design right here if you want. Again, it's more about function, being able to grab it and take the lid off. But if you want it to look nicer, you could put some texturing in there, you could put a bead in there, number of different things. Turn that over. Pull that down, pull it down. Much more comfortable pulling this cut. If I push it, I'm probably going to get a bunch of ripples in there. And you go either way. Drop the handle and come back toward the center. Drop the handle. I'm going from my left foot over to my right foot. As I reach the center, I'm over on my right foot. Got a little bit of bump in the center. And you could leave a little bump there. It'll sand off very easily for you. Rather than trying to cut it off and tearing out the wood, you're much better off doing it that way. So now, we're going to turn this tool rest, and I don't know if Tom can pick that up right there. That's a flat spot in it, but we have enough wood to do it. And we're going to taper from the top down toward the bottom of the lid.
So how are you going to be able to cut when you're right against the jaw? How are you going to be able to cut in when you're that close to the jaw?
We're going to there's plenty of wood here, so we can take this down.
Okay.
We'll try to take it down a couple of times. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch spindle gouge, and this one I think this is a D-way also. It might be a crown, I'm not sure anymore. Get your tool rest close enough. You can put it at an angle if you prefer. You're going to work your way backwards. You're gonna start down here and take a little wood out, and come back, take some more wood out. Notice I'm not going very quickly here. Crank it up some more, right? I have to be careful right here. I get a catch. So what I've done is pick up the handle, and I got just the point going into the wood again. Now I rotate from 9 o'clock up to 9:45, somewhere in there. Go toward the headstock and start leaning over my right foot. Never did know the difference between the two of them. You should get this on walnut. A wonderful wood to use. I got to be careful now of putting my tools into the chuck. And I'm going to put that light over here. And I'm using almost the nose and cutting a little bit to the left of the nose with this tool. And I'm going to roll it over quickly to that 9 o'clock position just before I got to the edge. And it's a little thin on the top up there. So I want to take a little more, I don't want it razor sharp up there. So I just turn it over and I'm shear cutting some of that wood down off the top, making it a little bit thicker. And now I could just take a little bit off of here too. Round it over. And sandpaper will do the same thing very easily. All right, let's see if we can move this out a little bit and take that little lip off the bottom on that part of it. Remember to go the opposite direction. You could tape some cardboard or business card to the bottom of your lid and then just push it up against the chuck and have a spacer. Close enough. Done. You could sand that up a little bit, it would look better. I didn't sand any of this, but if we look at this, you can see the lip on here should be smaller. The lid depends on your size of your grip. If I were doing these, it should be done for a woman. You would try to taper this maybe the other direction to make it a little smaller on the top. But the bigger the top is, the easier it's going to unscrew. So you make your choice one way or the other on that one. And you could do a number of things in here to get texturing, but also put a cove in here and let it be lower than the rest of the ridge up here. Things like that, or you put a bead in it and make another smaller level on the top of it. again, there's all kinds of things you can do with these. And again, the jars are whatever you want to make them out of. You go to the big box store and buy glass jars, smaller glass jars, big glass jars, again, plastic jars, or whatever you want to do with them. Any questions?